So I realized that I just left us on a cliffhanger last week and I never talked about Wonka. So I'm gonna do a quick little synopsis of Wonka. Not synopsis, just like my thoughts on the movie. First and foremost, not a lot of people know this because they hit it really, really well. Wonka is in fact a musical. I will note that I feel like it does have a good balance between singing and dialogue. So it does have that in its favor. But if you are not a fan of musicals, you probably won't be a fan of this movie. So that's my disclaimer. I was watching a video the other day talking about Wonka, and the person in the video, I can't remember whose video was exactly, but they noted, they're like, I mean, in reality, the original Gene Wilder, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was technically a musical. Like, it had songs throughout the entire movie. And I thought back to it and I was like, oh my God, you're so right. It totally was a musical. It's just not like a musical in the sense that a lot of people think of musicals. With that out of the way, Wonka is a musical. I thought it was really good. It was cheesy, but I feel like a lot of musicals do have that cheesy element. It is rated PG, so it's like definitely geared towards a younger audience. But I really appreciate it. It did have, not a lot, but it did have a few subtle nods to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which I loved and appreciated. And there was a scene at like the very end where someone has the tulip cups from the original movie and dipped it in a river of chocolate. That was like, I feel like the biggest callback I noticed from the original movie. And I noticed it so vividly because growing up, that was my, like, I don't know why I hyper fixated on that moment. I just always wanted a tulip cup and I always wanted to like bite in and eat one of those tulip cups. So that I really loved. I was like, oh my God. When I saw that happen, I was like, it's that tulip cup. And no one else will probably ever care, but I really appreciated that little homage to the original. One thing I did like about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory versus Wonka is the fact that Willy Wonka was, I don't know, a little scarier, a little spookier, a little more sinister. I really appreciated that, but that might just be because of the times, you know? I feel like this movie was definitely more a little lighthearted. Even the more like, oh no, shit's getting crazy moments, they felt a lot more lighthearted. Whereas, I don't know, there was definitely more of a dark undertone to the original that Wonka just didn't have. So if you're looking for that, you are not going to find it in Wonka. But yeah, that's my quick little update for y'all regarding Wonka, because again, I realized after honestly I uploaded the last video, my girlfriend hit me up and she's like, oh my God, how was Wonka? And I was just like, oh yeah, I guess I never actually like told y'all how Wonka was. So that's how Wonka was.
Lisa Loeb, stay on KDWB.
Okay, y'all, let's have a little chat. In my video leading up to the new year, I had noted that there were a lot of things I want to do with this channel, and I need some feedback from y'all. I really have this past season and a little bit of last season gotten into watching football, like really getting into it, really trying to understand what's going on in the game. For anyone who doesn't know, growing up, I used to watch football all the time. And I was very much the person who's just like, I'm just rooting for the team with the best color scheme. I have been paying a lot more attention. And while I do not know all of the ins and outs of football and how the game is played and all the stats and all the little numbers and all the bits and bobs, my partner watches all these people who do commentary on the game and on all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes. And that's kind of just something I want to do. And it's not, this isn't coming from a knowledgeable perspective. This is more opinion-based sports talk, if you will. And I just really want to get into that. Is that something you guys would be interested in? Let me know. It's been on my mind for the past few months now that I really think that would be something fun to get into. This channel is going to become very diverse. It is not going to be algorithm friendly, but it's going to be just all the things that I enjoy doing, partaking in, talking about. I'm an opinionated person and I want to share my opinions with y'all. So please let me know down in the comments below. Are we into maybe football segments? I want to do, it would literally just be once a week talking about football, obviously predominantly Vikings based, Vikings oriented. Is this something y'all are interested in? If not, I'm just curious. Just curious, are we into football? And if you are into football, let me know what teams you're interested in, and that'll also help me expand talking about other teams and other games as well. It doesn't have to be just Vikings, but obviously it's gonna be biased towards the Vikings because clearly. That's what we had to talk about today. Enjoy the rest of the vlog. Hey y'all, so we are supposed to get a decent amount of snowfall, and by decent amount, more than like the 1 inch we've gotten every time it's snowed here in Minnesota. So just in case we do get enough of a snowfall that I don't feel comfortable driving, I'm going to the grocery store now to get all of my snacks, goodies, yummies, all that stuff, on top of the knowledge that it's a 3-day weekend. Granted, I'm sure it's not going to snow so much that I won't feel comfortable driving Sunday, but I have a hunch like this evening and into tomorrow morning it's not going to be kosher. So let's go. I just finished at Target. I probably would have been done sooner because like my actual grocery shopping, I was like bing bang boom, in, out, ready to go. But then I was like, I'm gonna go look at clothes for this trip I'm taking because obviously I need new clothes anytime I do anything that's not part of my usual day in day out situation. New angles. There. Okay, I think that's good. Recently, two-part process here. My mom recently sent me a reel on Instagram about this woman who created a temperature blanket. Prior to this reel being sent, I had been seeing all over my Facebook about temperature blankets, but first off, I wasn't digging enough in to really find out what a temperature blanket is. And secondly, no one was really explaining it. They were all just kind of like talking about temperature blankets. And I was just like, what are these temperature blankets? I'm not understanding, like, what is going on? Because they were all just talking about color schemes of temperature blankets. And I'm just like, okay, whatever. But then my mom sent me the reel of this temperature blanket. And I'm like, that is such a cool, fun idea. I love it so much. I am so obsessed with this idea, especially for 2024. One of my goals is kind of to do more like hobbies that aren't being connected and attached to screen time. So obviously like listening to my record player instead of like listening to something on Spotify or reading a book, or I really want to get into sewing again this year. But I love this idea of making a blanket that takes like the entire year to make. So for a quick explanation for anyone who doesn't know, a temperature blanket is literally every single row of the blanket is the temperature of that day. So in reality, it's a blanket that has 366 for 2024 rows, and each row is a different color to represent a different temperature variable. So you get to choose. It's very much like choose your own adventure situation. You can choose your color scheme, you can choose your like temperature variable. So I'm doing every 10 degrees is a different color. That is what a temperature blanket is. You can do it. I've seen plethora of ways of like kind of how to do it, but I'm just going to take the basic route of like every single row is that day's temperature high. I'm doing high, some people are doing average, some people do lows. I'm just gonna do the temperature high for the day. One of my biggest things was like, I wanted to build out my own color scheme. So to do that, I just went to Canva and kind of like, I just used their whiteboard feature where it's literally just like this giant board. There are no boundaries to it. And I just kind of like picked a bunch of different colors. Here, I'll show you guys specifically. I just picked a bunch of colors and things that kind of spoke to me. I really like these darker tones. I love the greens. I love the browns. Clearly, like you guys have seen my space. Obviously, you probably see my messy bed at the moment. You guys have seen my space. You know my aesthetic at this point. It's like dark greens, black, caramely browns, and then golds. So this right here is kind of like what I just picked randomly for color schemes. And then from this, I kind of went further and tried to really find like more color schemes that really worked well. So I really honed in on this being the color scheme. And then I went from this to this. I did end up pulling out like this this color right here because I found it to be just a little too red. And then I condensed it down to these colors and I laid out all of the temperature variables. And then also the person on the reel that my mom sent me, they had a like month divider. So in between every single month they put a divider. You don't have to do that. Like you could just do the straight every single day as a year, but I did like the idea of the month divider. So I think if I do the month divider, I do want to use like a metallic-y gold, and that's really going to be dependent on if I can find a gold metallic yarn that I like that doesn't look too tacky or cheesy. And if I don't find one, then I just won't have that month divider. This is how I kind of like built out my color scheme. It was a lot of just like looking on Pinterest to find colors and vibes that I liked, and then kind of like honing it down to be a very specific color scheme. And then from there, just so I could clean everything up, I really laid it out. Again, month divider, and then every single month, and then I used the hex number down here. And then I found this website that is so cool. So it's called temperature-blanket.com. And this is where you can literally build out your own color scheme. So you enter your hex number. So let's just say you're looking for a black, right? It shows you all the different black options, name of the company, kind of the brand name, the color name. And then especially once you get into like more specific colors, like let me go to grab this hex number. So if I enter this hex number, then you'll see it's like 98% match, whereas this sage down here is like a 93% match. So I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. This is amazing. I love it so much. Now this obviously is specific to yarn. So I originally was looking for something like this when it came to quilting and finding fabrics, but I'm like, this is also great because then you can use this literally for any project. You don't have to use it specifically for temperature blankets. So this is my color scheme all laid out. I have it set for all the different temperatures. Now these colors right here don't necessarily match perfectly to these because again, there are those variables of like 98% match, 99% match. Nothing was 100% match. But I think as you can see here, because this is a screenshot of this page, but I think you can see here, was able to get pretty close to the colors. I am really pleased with this. I'm really excited about this. And now it's just time to go buy some yarn. But I don't know, I just really wanted to show you guys this. I thought it was really cool, especially for anyone out there who does yarn work, who knits, who crochets. For anyone else who is hearing about all these temperature blankets but had no idea what the heck they were, now you know. Hopefully I gave you guys a decent enough explanation of what these are. But yeah, I just really thought this specific website was so cool. It's temperature-blanket.com. You can donate to help maintain the website. I think it's ran by like three women who run the company or this page. So this is super amazing, and I just can't wait. That's all. I just made this apple harvest bowl. I have no idea if it's gonna be any good because I completely forgot to get the stuff to make the dressing, and it was supposed to be tahini and maple syrup. And thinking on it now, I probably could have just used my peanut sauce, but I feel like that would have been just a kick too spicy for like what this is. So I put Italian dressing on it, and now I'm like regretting that decision, but we're gonna give it a whirl. It has chickpeas, cranberries, obviously dried cranberries, craisins, I guess is what you'd call it, sweet potato, apple, mixed greens, and then on top, you can't see that part, quinoa, so. And then obviously Italian dressing on top. Oh, and crumbled goat cheese. You know, I don't hate the Italian dressing on it. Do I think the dressing I was supposed to make for this would have been better? 110%. But I don't hate the Italian dressing on this. The more you know. Italian dressing on apples isn't that bad. I wouldn't recommend it, but not that bad. Okay, bye.